We have asked you about how you see the law. We told you a story of an architect who hired workers for a project to assess whether you typically focus on reward systems more than the reward giver. We told you about a servant leader's effect on his followers and an orphan whose personal identity would not allow her to trust her adoption by the rich man. We asked questions that captured your current core assumptions about the nature of man and the possible connection to the spiritual or invisible. It seems you have indicated by your answers that you place a lot of confidence in yourself and others to do what is right. Yet you responded to questions back in session 2 that claim humans are flawed in their very nature. Now, while people can act kind and generous at times, actions are likely to be biased to their own self-serving needs. The flawed nature of human beings was the major topic of session 5. Remember? You may want to consider why and how you can depend on yourself and your connection with others when you cannot really trust human nature. We have explored knowledge, truth, and faith, and how they affect your decision making. And from your responses to these stories and questions, it seems that your core assumptions are what we would classify as an orientation toward your circumstances, especially the exchanges you make with the physical world around you. You appear to assume you can determine truth by thinking about what you and others observe. You seem focused more on what is practical than principled. So, you would likely place a priority on Edo knowledge over gnosis. It appears that reality for you is what you observe or objects that exist in the material world. From your answers, fairness and justice dominate your sense of virtue, so reward and punishment is important in your view. You seem to rely on what others may think or determine if you are doing okay or not. Let me say that again. You seem to rely on what others may think or determine of if you are doing okay or not. If so, this means that you believe that being satisfied will come from how well your own efforts can meet your needs. Keeping things in balance matters to you. When you give, there may be some underlying expectation to receive. And when others do something for you, you likely feel obligated to them. You may not like feeling obligated, which means you may have trouble receiving. This may cause you to push others away. Many people battle the tension of wanting others in their life, but at the same time run from obligation or commitment. Getting circumstances to tilt in your favor probably matters to you. Circumstances can depend largely on what others do, but can also include acts of nature such as illness and tragedy. An exchange worldview links your emotions to what you perceive happens around and to you. This can involve both the physical world and even unexplainable events you may attribute to the invisible or supernatural world. You're typically happy and excited when things go well, and sad, frustrated, and angry, and so forth when things go against you. Now, how you compare to and impact others can be a source of guilt, shame, or pride. You may see virtue primarily as morality or doing the right things. Do you remember our discussion in session 3 on power? Now, while you may prefer type 2 power or forms of justice over type 1 power and greed, you seem to expect communities to operate on people's rights or what they feel they deserve. It's interesting to note that according to your answers, although your core worldview is primarily exchange-based, you have insights into the bestowed worldview. While trusting something beyond yourself does not appear to be the primary way you think, you seem to have recognized that you do receive some favor that you do not earn. It appears your attention is generally drawn to how others react to what you do. Yet, you do recognize ways that grace or unmerited favor meet some of your needs. Because of this view, you may feel thankful at times without knowing specifically whom is the recipient of your gratitude. Maybe you can identify with the orphan and see how adoption could satisfy her needs, even though she did nothing to get adopted. This is an opportunity for you to reflect more on the satisfaction that comes from knowing that everything does not depend on what you do, and there are benefits that come to you regardless of what you do, like a beautiful sunshiny day. However, grace does not appear to be your dominant view. So let's continue to see how your before worldview profile influences how you think, feel, and act. Well, as we said earlier, your answers indicate an exchange-based orientation. This can feed both your pride and your fear because you feel outcomes are up to you. It is important for you to note that your exchange-based core assumptions, your before worldview, influence how you think about your work, your career, and institutions such as government, family, business, and religion. It would be helpful as you study topics like these to consider that you could view them from more than one way. When you gain new insight and evidence for how the different core assumptions can help you and your community better prosper, you may begin to question your own core assumptions. For instance, throughout the ages, one controversial topic in how societies function is religion. Because culture has a huge effect on religion in a society, often communities have a fake or a counterfeit view of religion. For example, many Muslims and Jews feel their religions are misunderstood by others in society. So throughout the years, religious people have both exploited others and have been persecuted themselves. We suggest the best way to view religion is not as a cultural influence on society, but truly as a core assumption. For example, you can study Christianity by exploring the core assumptions of Jesus. This is what is referred to as the mind of Christ. You have also indicated by your answers that you do not prefer Christianity. We assume this means that either you feel you still have more to learn about Jesus' teachings, or that you understand Jesus' teachings and you do not agree with them. While it has not been the purpose of this course to study religion or theology, it has been our wish to help you better understand your own core assumptions, and in this context, to share with you Jesus' desire to give you every opportunity to live an abundant life. We hope that as you think back on this study, it will open new ways for you to consider how you think, feel, and act as you walk through life. Perhaps the most valuable thing we could ask you right now is, what is true north?